Hello and welcome everyone to another game of Bar Beyond All Reason. And in today's game, it's actually going to be a little bit of a longer one, so go ahead and grab a snack. Go ahead and maybe grab some food or something. Who knows? I personally have chocolate milk. So, let's go ahead and switch the view here for you guys. Now, as we can see here, let's go ahead and start off with the obvious, right? As you can see, both teams have kind of a unique way of spawning that just naturally happens. And our red team over here has a somewhat of a row of two kind of formation, almost like a turtle a little bit, I want to say. While the other team kind of has more of a 1v1 slash rush formation, I want to maybe say. I wouldn't be so sure. I'm sure at some point they're going to come up with certain names for this. And as you can see, they're kind of drawing out a little bit of a defense here, which is naturally going to happen. And this here is a bit of a gaping hole, especially for these three teams over here. Well, these three players over here on the blue side, which they'll have this whole side uncontested, which is pretty crazy to think about, especially when these two players over here are pretty much going to be considered your defensive players, or maybe even, double click there, or maybe even these three players are going to be considered your defensive players in a weird way. You'll definitely see this as the game progresses, and let's go ahead and speed things up to about 3 times speed just to get past the beginning phase a little bit. And as we zoom in, you'll also notice that there's metal extractors being placed everywhere. And yeah, that's if you haven't already played on this map, that's going to speed things up considerably, seeing as if you can upgrade your metal along with your energy, it's really up to you and how efficient you are with your resources. And as you can see here, the defensive lines are kind of already starting, or at least the starting battle lines to kind of nitpick at the enemy, see what they're doing, see who's doing what, get some nice scouting information. Benzir got off to an early start, thankfully, with that. And I'm sure as let's see, yep, and then just see what the blue team could see real quick. Yeah, this entire side blank. I mean, I'm earlier we saw him come over here with his units and see there was just no one. It's uncontested completely. They have no clue what's really going on besides the outskirts of players over here. But let's go ahead and see what the red team can see. And they already have an advantage besides this player over here. That would be Bubba G, who is kind of like a ghost a little bit. And I would say that's probably another benefit of the almost turtle, maybe turtle in the hair. Maybe you could kind of think of it that way as to what these positions could be called in a weird odd way. But intel for the red team is always going to be easiest because everyone's on the front line. Doesn't matter who it is, front line. And as we go back to normal view here, and I'm sure you'll see soon enough, there's going to be massive amounts of just metal, well, reclaimable metal, which oddly enough on this map won't matter as much. Still be important if you really want to throw in some Lazarus or some Gravediggers, but there's really no need. And I want to highlight another thing about this is that if you choose to go the more loose, spread out approach with your team, you're going to have much more space, considerably more space, as Benzir is already on a little bit of a tight crux with this team over here on this side of the map. Yamato queued up with his commander, just going heavy into windmills, and what was that, mass extractors? Probably mass extractors for the good old scavenger units. We will soon be highlighting them as well, as I feel like this entire game is just a great showcase of everything new that's come along with Bar. And as we can see here, yeah, they're already kind of squished. So Something to look out for if you are going to play in this kind of formation with your team. Oh, and it seems like they're going to be going for a little bit of an early attack. Go ahead and see how this plays out for them. Seems like they're going to be getting surrounded a little bit. And oh man, yeah. Let's slow it down a little bit. Enjoy the chaos that ensues. And another thing he's going to be seeing is that there's going to be a lot of tier 2 and a lot of tier 3 coming out really quick. I mean, we're already 12 minutes in. Lines are clashing at each other. What is that? A fusion reactor is already built. I mean, that's pretty good time, but man. Units are all over the place. There is no waiting, no building, no nothing. Just straight into it. And as you can see here, the blue team has more of a space advantage, going to be cramping the red team. And there's already 4.7k here in metal. Not bad. That's quite a bit. And here are the phoenixes, which belong to the scavengers. And I'm sure, as you could slow it down a little bit more, the beam is pretty devastating. I mean, heavy ground assault craft. That wasn't kidding. It's not kidding. If you put them down to strafe, it's gonna do some major damage. Oh yeah, major damage is gonna be done with these units here. And later on, I mean, right now it's kind of hard to see their full effectiveness as to what they could do on the battlefield. But although, as a nice example, they do pretty nice on their own individually, just kind of harming units as it goes, like kind of like a regular bomber. But I feel like once you get them in mass, that's really gonna be the main thing that is gonna just be destroying ground units as it's supposed to do. Oh, looks like we got shurikens, I think. And as you can see here, they're already kind of building up an air force, and Legion also has these defensive aircraft, defensive fighters, which are kind of interesting. And I think they have another one, which is like an interceptor, but it's not good after the first initial bout of attack. So odd things are coming with this third faction coming up. Right now, everyone's kind of just getting prepared, building up. And let's go back to the aerial view of this is the natural just defensive line you're gonna have to make if you're on the outskirts / middle of the map for your team, whether it's blue or if it's red. You're gonna have to be making a defensive wall if you're in the middle, because this here all belongs to Derrmyster, who is going to be playing the major role of defense. I mean, of course, air. Always need air. As you're going to see later on in this game here, the blue team is not too great with that when it comes to air, but they manage and make up for it. So let's go ahead and speed things along. As battle lines are formed, units are being upgraded from tier 2 to tier 3 very slowly. As we can see, there are already advanced reactors coming. Lots of energy to spare. Lots of metal to spare. And oof, major explosion there. Oop, that wasn't a commander, was it? I don't think there's any nukes yet, is there? I can notice, I can already see on this map there's gonna be a lot of stalemates. Simply because it's gonna come down to strategy and who knows how to break through certain points. And oh yeah, here's what I'm talking about here, where you get these phoenixes in mass. I feel like in one run, that's where you're going to be doing the most damage. It's not quite like regular bombers, and it has a nice visual, much more of a visual effect, despite not quite having as kathunky kind of noise whenever it goes off. But these guys right here can really do some major damage. Lots and lots of damage in one go all together. It's just kind of devastating and neat to see, honestly. It gives some nice visual aspects to the game, much more than what we're used to so far. Yep, and as the anti-air units come out, of course everything starts going down, but they're still causing so much damage just in one run. Multiple beams doing multiple targeting it's pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating. I feel like a little bit more devastating than just regular bombers doing a bombing run straight across in one line in one spot. And back to the little bit of a center view here, and we have Inferno's really just laying down the heat. Oh gosh, this poor mammoth is just getting the worst of it on its own. My goodness. And whoop, a nuke goes off, and the commander shockingly survives, oddly enough. You really don't expect that with the commander. You expect them to go down instantly, but see, that's that the Legion commander. It's already what, on the second? Yeah, level 2, 4,000 health. My goodness. I mean, they're pretty beefy for commander standards, and they take quite a wallop. Unless you just have a massive units like tier 3 units going up against them, they can really do some heavy damage in the early game, and if you let them live long enough in the late game as well. Now let's go back to the aerial view so we could see what I would say what the blue team could have done a little bit better in this game. And although there are air units over here by Yamato, who is doing air pretty fabulously, I would say, pretty nicely. He's going across the whole field, even though he doesn't have to, knowing his team is not over here on this side. He still does a pretty good job defensively. But Bubba G and was it Koila Salo could definitely have made somewhat of a base over here and really be putting the pressure on this side for Derrmyster, who wouldn't be able to really stand a chance against 2 different forces or 3 different forces, even with the help of Rainer 99. Yep, and as you can see, we have our tier 3 units coming out 21 minutes in. 21 minutes in mass at that. I mean, that's pretty crazy to think about. Already 21 minutes in, and they're coming out in this much of a quantity. Yeah, this game is going to be pretty crazy. Let's go ahead and get down into these whoops. Get down into these visuals here. Oh. There we go. Gotta get used to these controls. As these units slowly march on in. Now, isn't that a view? Wow. That is just nice to see. Imagine the devastation is going to come soon. Some lighter bits of conflict. Some violence going on. My goodness. Robots destroying robots. You love to see it. You just love to see it. Shriekers are finally... Oh, Shiva's, my bad. Shiva's finally launching a few missiles off. Gonna be clearing some nice paths here. With 23k metal just kind of laying around. Usually you would see Lazarus bots and gravediggers all around this trying to pick it all up, but there's really no need on this map. This map is really just about all-out warfare, exactly what the game is supposed to be. Something beyond all reason, maybe. Huh? Maybe. The only one who's really kind of doing a little bit of a constant push here, I would say, is Solos, who's just, what is that, making mammoths and just sending them in. Nothing too crazy, just sending them in one by one, nice single file line. Everyone else kind of is building up, getting their attacks in order. Benzir here is doing a kind of a push with his slow-moving vehicles. Oh, they have tier 3 Marauders though. Are they going to be doing any? No, they're just going to be taking those shots. Not really going to be micromanaged at all. A little bit. Oh, now they're being activated, but it's a bit too late. A little bit too late. Oh my goodness! Whole lot of friendly fire here, and I don't even think they realize it. They kind of just walked into range and blew up both of their team. My goodness. Okay. Ooh, As we can see, the blue team over here, Bubba G and all them, are kind of just playing really passively, unlike the bottom portion of the red team, who are being very aggressive, being able to really, I guess, take advantage of their defensive wall that they've extended very greatly all the way out here, kind of putting the blue team a little bit of a panic situation. Some nice amount of oop. Oh, that's why. A nice amount of units are just kind of coming out here, kind of picking at the enemy. What units are those? Oh, drone defense. That's what those are. Okay. A massive amount of drone defense. A whole lot of drone defense. My goodness. Oh, and it looks like we finally have a clash between the two armies that have been building up. And my... Oops, snap. My goodness, is it devastating. Oh, and a demon. Man. It looks here they're just being cleared out to the red team, not really standing much of a chance at all. This is pretty something right here. This is something. I mean, the demon just taking a whole lot of the damage, but the range that the red team is missing is just really not there at all. They kind of need some support if they really want to make a good push out of this. It seems like Derrmyster has a lot of units, but it's mostly like tier 1 and hounds. Not gonna make too much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, especially now when we're 25 minutes into this game and we're only halfway through, shockingly enough, halfway through. And here it seems like seems like Solos has actually switched it up in the production into demons himself, which are wreaking a havoc into Pale's base over here. Benzor trying to actually do a little bit of a push himself. The range of all the defenses and, well, catapults really making it difficult for him to make any kind of progress towards the front here, especially with all these defensive drones just nitpicking away at him. Yep, and down goes the Starlight. But as the Bubba G over here kind of builds up a little bit of a mess. Oh, seems like he's going to be going for a Calamity. And it was targeted by Yamato. I do notice that if you give them an attack order, they're not very specific. Or maybe he just told them to come over here rather than focusing on one thing. But they are still doing lots of damage without any anti-air over here to support. I mean, there was this one anti-air. Oh, and it's already gone. Oh, and there goes a nuke, destroying all chances of that Calamity ever having a chance at existence. But if we come back over here to Tonnison's Tawn, his defensive drones just aren't going to be enough, especially with a combined forceful push. Seems like Celia Trepe, I probably butchered that, is coming in hot and heavy with all his units. Yep, with the Karganeth and the Shiva coming in, there's just no chance. He's just pushing his way through, barreling in. So let's come up here, get a nice aerial view of this. And more nukes going off in the top corner there. Wow. Is this commander going to go down? Yes, it is going to be taking a large chunk. And surprisingly, the fusion reactor surviving with 13% health. Doesn't seem like for long, though. Wow. They kind of just carved their way in, making a nice little divot here. Somewhat being held a little bit by... what's his name? Taunids. Held a little bit by Taunids. And Hofat's, I'm not sure what he's, Hofat's Hoffit, I'm not sure what he's doing too much down here on his lonesome. Kind of squished to the corner. And it seems like Derrmyster is taking advantage of the fact that no one was fighting over here. Despite all the air, there's only really these phoenixes that can attack the ground as these defensive fighters. I don't think they can actually shoot the ground. Something about them, I think. Oh, aphises are coming up for Yamato. Massive amounts of power. You're going to be seeing some crazy things on this map, I feel like. You're just going to be seeing mostly tier 3s, just long, drawn-out games. And becoming more of a mental battle of just having to keep producing units and keep having to hold a long fight and keeping it going as you either get bored or realize there's just no overcoming this, as Solos has gone into kind of a little bit of an automatic trance here with his commander just doing a nice little jig. Love to see it. His units just kind of going in, doing their own thing, and actually, in a weird way, creating somewhat of a little bit of a barrier for themselves with all this debris just kind of sitting around here. Seems like Benzir's trying to go for the corner, and it's just not going to work, as Hufat has had a lot of time to just really sit and build. Sit and build up some units. No matter how slow, I feel like on this map you're going to be able to manage quite a bit, especially from the help of your teammates no matter where you are. Seems like Bubba G is kind of going for a little bit of a push towards the upper left, I want to say. Yeah, the upper left hand side of this map, if you're facing on the red side. And oh, Yamato's making a nice little call out, doing a little bit of scouting. It seems like Mandaroni is actually going for a little bit of a tier 1 tick spam, grunts, tick spam, yep. Run across the field, do a little bit of busy work, keep the team at least doing some little bit of nitpicks. Slowly but surely they'll probably get one laser off every now and again. And as you can see here, Yamato is just going crazy with the air. It's just non-stop pumping these units with, was that 3, 4? Oh my goodness, lots of phoenixes, heavy in the phoenixes. Noticing that, yeah, that's the only thing, and completely demolished Bubba G's army that was slowly making an approach. This is what I mean. Once you combine them together and they just start targeting their own things going across the field, nothing is going to survive that at all. Nothing. And Bubba G, realizing this, decides to pull back to safety. The defensive line is strong, very strong. I mean, they could really do some pushing here. What is this? A Starfall, my bad. Starfall is being built over here by Raynor 99. But if we look over here, some more craziness is going on. Bubba G just loading up on the nukes, queued and going, built by the construction towers. My goodness. Yeah, you'll be able to see that later on, as it's going to be getting pretty crazy. And then Solo's here still pumping units, just going straight into the attack, not really caring so much for anything. Even though they do get destroyed instantly, it does keep the enemy on their toes, as these demons will come in and just wreak havoc constantly, slowly pushing their way forward if you give them the chance. My goodness, 78k now, that is ridiculous to think about. And it looks like here Sole Trepe actually went for the big juggernaut. That is a beefy unit on its way with a little bit of an escort from Yamato, going in and just wreaking havoc on the on the enemy, even though they kind of prepared a little bit this time with more anti-air and units being able to actually shoot. The air making, oh my goodness, most of it's gone. Coming in with a lot of his defensive fighters. Seeing as there's not really much of a really defensive defense against him when it comes to air assaults. Oh my goodness, they got destroyed. Wow. Yeah, they are not that great. They're just kind of tickling the enemy air forces. Even in groups, they're just not standing much of a chance. Wow. Yeah, scavengers are going to definitely need a little bit of a rework, or at least something to kind of figure out what exactly they're going to do. And more nukes we're blasted against these Titans here, who are on low health, thankfully so. But I'm sure if they work together, it'll be an easy cleanup for them as time goes on. And this Juggernaut here, wow, just nicely is holding his own in this little bubble of a gap right here, destroying all that are nearby and just soaking up damage. With what is this? Solos actually still doing a slow push. It's very slow, but it's inches, okay? That's all you need. Inches, inches, and inches. Just like in any kind of, I would say, sport. When you give them an inch, they take a mile. I mean, this is they're having to pull back units just to handle this one Juggernaut, who is still just marching forward. My goodness. Oh, anti-nukes have been launched, and more nukes are being built over here by Bubba G. Thankfully, no nukes have struck any bases yet, besides the units themselves, which isn't too bad. And it looks like Bubba G is actually building some air forces here to kind of help out with, who is that? Is that Benzir launching nukes, I think? Launching nukes towards these Titans. Really trying to get rid of them. They are pretty annoying units if you don't get rid of them. Essentially Juggernauts themselves. Oh, and it's Colia Salo coming in with a good amount of Thors. With Pink having to actually bring it back, kind of a little bit of a run. While Yamato is going to be coming in slowly with his Air Force and just going to decimate these units together in one go. One laser at a time, they're just going to be blown to smithereens, my goodness. Oh, but Bubba G's kind of coming in with his own attack fighters, which are kind of doing some work, but these Phoenix are a little beefy. They kind of have a little bit of defense going for them. I mean, there aren't too many fighters, and as we saw earlier, these Scavenger Air Force just isn't really strong enough, or at least doesn't put out enough damage. I mean, 20 DPS, 20 burst. Let's see if we can. Did we get him? Oh, nope, he died right before. Let's see, a Nighthawk. Oh, 0 DPS and 1 burst. Interesting. I don't know if the numbers are playing out. Maybe I'm reading them wrong. But they definitely do not operate well, despite what the numbers say. And it seems like the Rider or Reichert, don't know how to pronounce it, kind of has this group of units. He's had them for a while, but they really aren't doing too much. I mean, there's just in that little group alone there are 306. But if I can, yeah, 700 of these guys just hanging about, not really doing too much. Yeah, those could definitely be put to much better use, especially now when your team has made pretty nice gaps for you. I mean, they've really done a lot to really clear the way for you. All you have to do is finish it up. Oof. Juggernaut just destroying everything in its wake. For the blue team over here, kind of holding its own defensive line by itself, while the Benzir and the red team kind of just do a little bit of nitpicking with the tier 1 spam, going all in a little bit something different. As we can see here, Orange has opted for just the mass approach of units, despite not doing much with them, oddly enough. I mean, combine that with the red and you can really do some damage. I mean, all these T3 units are moving really slowly. One of these units is bound to make a DAC and cause some havoc if you just send them in to do some nice damage, or at least some swarming tactics to get that bonus damage in. Well, it looks like here we got some really low health tier 3 units going up against some Mantises. Oh, sorry, Razorbacks. Surprising they have been alive this long. Oh, 1%. It's about to go down, and come on. Yeah, there we go. And it took all the Razorbacks with them. My goodness. And it seems like Mandaroni is kind of going for the same approach as Venzir, just sending in tier 1 spam as the game prolongs itself. And Bubba G launching a massive amount of nukes since he's finally got them all built, or at least most of them built. My goodness, is there going to be enough to stop it? Is there enough? Ooh, it seems like there's just enough to cover it this time around for this prolonged game. You could tell all the players are fatigued at this point, really going through some mental gymnastics here, as you can see in the chat there. Their own nukes launched by I think Orange over here, easily countered as there's nowhere near as much as Bubba G's nukes. I mean, that is a crazy amount of nukes. I think before I said in my earlier video, at least at some point, that nukes is a way to do it. Even if you don't get it on the first try, if you just keep, I would say, exponentially growing your nukes, you could definitely do some heavy damage. I mean, what is this? 24 of them? If they all launched at the same time, or you got all these other ones built up going at the same time and then launch them, there's going to be no way. There's going to be no way for them to actually have enough to defend it. Some might go anti-nuke crazy, but crazy enough to really just make a deciding factor as that many nukes is gonna be kind of hard to actually predict what the enemy player is gonna be doing. It seems like green over here is coming with a nice group of Thors who are slowly making their way, really being untouched at this rate as they make their push. Orange sending in lots of his units finally, and the mass droves that they are, sending them in to counter these Thors here, who are definitely eating them alive, but there's just so many that they can't take them all out themselves. And now the flying fortress from the Legion faction. This is a pretty beefy boy to be in the sky, my goodness. Oop. And it looks like the enemy team has their own Starfall. Let's see if we can find it over here. Oh, step, there it is. Go ahead and getting some nice kills in. Doing its job perfectly, handling these large swarms of troops. And it seems like Yamato is kind of opting for these more of a Flying Legion approach, and defenders of course. Oh my goodness. Massive amount of nukes. Massive amounts of things being destroyed. My gosh. And it seems like Green doesn't know exactly what to do with his units, or maybe they just can't figure out the right path to follow to actually get down. But it seems like he's more so pulling them back in the wake of all these explosions happening in the sky over here as nukes are being countered. My goodness. And Bubba G is still building these nukes, cranking them out, really focusing on these builds here. Oh, and another one is done and ready to cause more havoc. And let's see here. Seems like Green is really just focusing on building more units, building them up, and getting ready to send them in. My goodness, nukes are being countered above head, robots being destroyed, and Titans slowly pushing their way through the defensive line, soaking up damage as they go. And of course, when a Titan dies, it's going to take a couple units with it. It's guaranteed most of the time. Yep, this one does as well. Not going out in vain, actually. I would say giving the red team a little bit of something to think about, especially since these things are coming in massive numbers along with Thors. And Volton in the center, not really doing too much. Who knows what Volton's been up to. I don't think Volton got nuked. Did Volton get nuked at some point? Maybe. It's a bit hard to tell. There's been a lot going on in this game. But it seems like he's definitely sending two of his own juggernauts down to support. Nukes constantly being countered. You know, at some point you kind of just stop trying, seeing as the team just has constant amount of anti-nuke. Because unless you're going crazy with it, I mean crazy, with the nukes, it's just not going to work. Especially at this point in the game. I mean, we're almost 40 minutes in, and no one is making much progress. Solo is still doing his same of inching forward, and it's working. I would say it is working if there's no more base in this area. Matter of fact, take a little bit of a aerial look on both sides here. Blue's defensive line would normally be straight across right here, but Red has took it upon themselves to, oh, well, Benzir himself is actually going mass air, and it seems like Yamato stopped, or maybe sent all his troops in, or maybe gave them away by the looks of it. Yeah, he's giving them all to, wow, maybe his plans on not leaving the game soon. Give them all to Benzir. But the defensive line here for Blue is, oddly enough, this is their defensive line. Despite not having a line of themselves, if Red really wanted to, they could push. And it looks like some nukes are finally going to get through. And it seems like Pink is the first victim to truly fall in this game here by Bubba G's massive nukes. My goodness. What was that, like 3 or 4 got through that with him? There's no way to be prepared for that. Oh yeah. No matter how many anti-nukes you have, if someone's just constantly building nukes for 10, almost 20 minutes straight, you're not going to be able to fight that. You're just not going to be able to. Counter nuke kind of being launched, but yeah, there was no helping that. So that should end it for Derrmyster here. And it seems like someone already left. I'm not exactly sure. Solos? Was it Solos that left? From the looks of it, he has left, but his units and production is still going very strong, thankfully, for the red team here. Yamato going back in with his air, or at least taking control of them. Wow. Leech. Atomic bomber. Oh, yep. Red's atomic bombers are soon to be ready to go on their own strike, as these flying fortresses are just helping out take out these units with large amounts of health, owning the sky the entire game. It really feels like that red team has dominated the sky for the most part, despite them having a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to the fighters. And it seems like these three, bit of a coalition of just air holding it themselves, are doing a nice job of that. Nice bit of Starfall about to land right here, I think. Yeah. Oh no. On all the tier 1 spam, thinning them out greatly, but bit of a waste, honestly, for target wise. Oh, now isn't that a nice view? 2 different Starfalls are just launching at each other's teams there. Yeah, as you can see, this map is a bit of a stalemater, seeing as both can easily hold out for long periods of time. And it seems like Green's actually making a decent push over here. Never mind, seeing as their main defender is quite gone. I mean, it's kind of expected when one of your teammates get nuked to oblivion, and shockingly, their commander is still alive with a decent amount of health there. Looks like full HP, actually. Crazy enough. But Green coming in with their Thors. This might be the good push that's been needed to really make the difference and end the game here, as we slowly but surely come to a close, despite Yellow's efforts to come and help take these Thors down. Boy, oh boy. Oh, seems like dragons were produced by PL here. Oh my god, 370k metal in this entire area. I don't know about you guys, but that is a crazy number. a ridiculous number to think about, just sitting on the battlefield. Oh, and it seems like Pink Pink with the stealthy Thors, the big boys, coming in the back lines, really doing some major damage. I did not see that coming right there. You just see these big explosions in the back, and you just see these beefy guys slowly crawl forward, causing devastation, destroying these nukes. Are they before they launch, or did they already launch? Oh, never mind. They did get there in time. And slowly but surely, the nukes will travel across the sky one by one. Some will not make it, but others will. And goodbye to the red team. My goodness. True devastation right there with those nukes. Despite Pink getting a nice little sneak attack, their efforts were in vain, as the nukes were already launched. It was almost like a SEAL Team 6 stealth ops mission, just going in the back lines, causing as much chaos and devastation as they can before the enemy country or whatever can launch their nukes and really just destroy the other country that's trying to stop it. But it just was not meant to be. They didn't clear the mission. They got to restart all over again. Spent an hour trying to get that mission to go, and it just didn't happen. But Pink not giving up, as they should. They should keep going as they are and keep pushing. I mean, they already caused a significant amount of damage, but yeah, I don't think this amount of defensive units now on the ready for Pink's stealth attacks. Yeah, they aren't quite gonna make it with that one. Red still going with the tier 1 spam. As good as it is, I mean, at some point you gotta change up the tactics. I know the game's taking long and everyone's ready to go, but if you want the win, you gotta keep going all the way to the end, baby. All the way to the end. My goodness, and here comes the dragons, kind of doing a little bit of damage as they slowly get shot down by the defenses. But every little thing destroyed is one step closer to actually reaching the end goal here. And pretty much at this point, all we're waiting now is for PUBG to launch another strong attack as he heals up the nukes and builds more, getting them going again. My goodness, I mean, one more launch will just end it all, unless the other team over here is able to really get it going themselves. Seems like Red here is kind of doing a little bit of a patrol, seeing, or maybe he's actually going, or maybe he's actually going this way, trying to get something going that way, like that. But at this point, it is technically over, all despite them being able to hold so well. And oh, he had some nice scouting going on. Coselo, go ahead and see what he sees. Oh my goodness, the lines, I did not see that coming. Okay, but yeah, he's getting some nice scouting information, trying to see exactly what's going on over here. Because despite the nuke that PUBG had, I mean, maybe he was just shooting in the dark. It was like, okay, we're just going to do as much damage as we can here. But thankfully, Coliseo doing what air units should, getting information at all times. You always want to get information. You need as much information as you can, because your buddy can't launch his nukes if there's nothing to go off of. Or at least they can and just make shots in the dark, hoping for the best. I mean, with that many nukes, you're bound to blow something up. You're bound to blow something up. Units here, despite getting a little attack themselves, he is kind of pointing out that, hey, there's Aphis here. There's things here you should want to blow up yourself, my man. Get those nukes nice and ready. I think they're actually being reclaimed, I think. It's kind of funny. Just slowly but surely. That's got to be a terrifying thought. You're at a ship, you're told to actually go over, scout the enemy, and just kind of hover about. And the next thing you know, you come over here, and your ship just slowly starts to unscrew the bolts. It starts to rattle and shake. And next thing you know, your whole thing is just gone. All your shit, like your whole ship is gone right before your eyes. I mean, that's got to be a little crazy. Let's get out of the player view here. We don't need that. Seems like Bubba G is coming in with some nice bombers. Gonna be able to do a little bit of cleanup before the epidemic comes, as we all know it is. Pale really sitting in the units now. I mean, sitting them in before, but now just sitting constant, kind of as Sailor was doing, despite Sailor's not having too much of a nice chance to actually get it done himself. But when it's pretty much 2v6, oh man, even one person from the blue team left. 2 versus the entire team, or 3 a little bit now, since Derrmyster kind of has something going on a little bit, which was expected. I mean, take that whole upper side and make a second base or something. And no real defenses, not much that can be done. I mean, as you can see here with the glorious update, tier 1 planes can actually shoot ground units, and they're just kind of tickling the Thor as it destroys everything. And now Commander going in, sadly it didn't make it. In fact, I feel like it probably destroyed more of its own units than anything. Oh no, he pulled him back. Good. But yeah. GG, does that mean he's gonna launch him? Are they about to launch? Oh man, crazy amount of nukes that Bubba G was making down there, as they slowly do a cleanup on the entire map. Despite all these pawns by the orange player, it just isn't enough. It's not enough. At this point, you're really just wanting them to resign and give up, but they are slogging it out to the bitter end here. Especially the orange player. Constant. My goodness, how many of these things are on the field right now? Can my computer get it? How many? 1,000 of these things alone. My goodness. Just a shield of pawns. My goodness. I mean, they're not very effective when it comes to actually destroying much of anything, but you get enough of them, it'll do something. It'll definitely do something. These two over here just kind of having a little bit of a stare off. It's like, yeah, you make a move. No, you make a move. My goodness. Green slowly making a back push, destroying a lot of things and a lot of units. And this Legion Commander is level 4. My goodness. And beefed up as he is. My gosh, he could probably do some nice damage, but not too much is left for him to really do. And boy, oh boy. Oh, Thor is launching some nice missiles, and poof. Oh, surprised it didn't destroy it, huh? Well, with the help of 2 dragons, it did. Pawns getting destroyed. Commander just doing his dance and jig as the world ends around him with his gifts. Slowly but surely, the game comes to that final end. Are they gonna launch that? Is Bubba G gonna launch him? Oh yes, here it comes. Armageddon, the apocalypse. Ah yes, exactly what we're needing here. Something just to really clean things up. The game won't end until they get the commander, so oh yeah, everyone's PC needs a vacation after this. My goodness, 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second. My gosh, I can only imagine what it's like to actually be playing the game itself. And oh jeez, wow. What? Oh, they got the game pausing a little bit. Oh man, it couldn't process that many nukes going off in one spot. At some point, I feel like if there really is that many nukes landing in one spot, or at least something, or lots of explosion going on in a general area, it would be cool to see the map reflect that. I mean, not just with these craters here, but I mean genuinely reflect that. Kind of making like large chunks pop up, or at least cracks where units have to go around and Radiation maybe would be pretty cool. It would change the game up a lot. I don't know if that would be too much or not. Oh, seems like I found the commander here, who's taking on the air troops as he's slowly getting picked away. Man, lots of weapons on this guy, but the Thor is just, yeah. And finally, that ends the game for the blue team with Bubba G as the MVP, destroying enemy resource productions and the traitor destroying allied units as well with his large amounts of nukes. My goodness. Woo! Fax Labs, the pink player who got the very, very sneaky attack on green and a baby blue. Oof, was the most efficient in the resources. So let's go ahead and look at those graphs here. As we could see, Bubba G from the very beginning was actually just steamrolling in resources. And it seems like Coil Salo kind of caught up a little bit, but then I guess took a turn when in as a unit production or something. But as the game just progressed, Bubba G was never overtaken once, as crazy as that may sound. My gosh indeed. And with that, we're gonna end it here. My name is Derrmyster. Be sure to like and subscribe the video, and tell me something down below. What did you think? Did you like it? Was it a little drawn out? Was I not doing enough commentary? Was my confidence? Tell me about it. I want to improve for you guys as things go along and really make the most here. I mean, shoot, might as well, right? If I'm going to make these videos, you gotta like them. I gotta like, well, I like producing them, but if you guys don't like watching them, then hey, what's the point of making them in the first place? But yeah, we're gonna end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed, and be on the lookout for some other ones to come. All right, so go on.